talk about the very big heartbreak, it was an absolutely terrible weekend from AlphaTauri. Obviously, we've already talked about Gasly's crash, but Yuki Tsunoda wasn't really anywhere this weekend, and he also retired out of the main race on Sunday. Obviously, he had a little bit of the moment with Kubica in the sprint race where he just avoided crashing into Kubica after he absolutely accidentally spun him. But Tsunoda was just nowhere.
And it's weird to see it from him. He was pushing the car to the limits in the beginning, I remember. And now he's just...
Yeah, I mean, Tsunoda's performances until we got to Baku were decent and some were outstanding. But after Baku, Yuki just hasn't been shaping. And I know the WTF1 podcast, they said that obviously they personally think the only reason Yuki got his extra 1 year contract with AlphaTauri is due to his ties with Honda. Because they're leaving the sport at the end of the year. Red Bull are taking over the Honda power units. But they feel the only reason Yuki has stayed in that seat is due to his ties with Honda. But I personally feel Yuki deserves a second chance because after Baku, it's not been a good running for Tsunoda. I think literally the last time he got points was at Baku. Sure. If I'm not mistaken. I think he may have gotten 10th place at Silverstone, if I'm not mistaken. A P10 1 point, but I'm talking under correction, I can't exactly remember. But Tsunoda, if you compare him to Gasly is wiping the floor with Tsunoda. Yeah. He needs to find something. And Gasly and Tsunoda have got a very healthy relationship. I mean, if you look at the AlphaTauri YouTube channel and just all the things that Gasly and Tsunoda do with each other and how they talk about each other, they've got a very solid relationship. Yeah. Gasly thinks Tsunoda is the funniest guy alive. But Yuki needs to find an extra gear before this season ends. Otherwise, I think knowing the Red Bull program, they will just kick him out of his contract. They've done that before and they will not be able to do it again. Yeah. And because Helmut Marko, the big boss of Red Bull, who has control over Red Bull Racing and AlphaTauri, if he's not satisfied with Tsunoda, he will show Tsunoda the door. Tsunoda needs to find something in these final 7-8 rounds of the championship.
Yeah. Well, hopefully he does. I think a second chance will do him well.
If they keep him for next year, if he doesn't do anything this year, next year will have to be the year. So, yeah, we'll just have to see what happens. But I'm personally a big Yuki Tsunoda fan. I loved him in F2 last year, and I still think he's a quality driver. Just like Albon, just like Gasly, he just needs a proper opportunity. Yeah. So yeah, but that has been the talks about AlphaTauri. Now, we literally just mentioned it. Alonso doing Alonso things. Again, Alonso had points. Where did Alonso come? Let me just quickly check the results again. Alonso was P8. And the Renault engine in the back of the Alpine is the weakest engine this year. And it was at the track where power is the biggest advantage. Yeah. And if you... even Ocon got points. Ocon got P10. So well done to Ocon as well. But, I mean... Alonso once again just doing Alonso things. And for me personally, being an Alonso fan, I mean Alonso's my hero, but Alonso is just now that he's used to the car, he's driving fantastically.
Yeah.
I mean looking at that battle with Russell back at Austria, those final few lap battles. I sent you guys the video over the group after that race. Alonso, the guy's 40 years old. And he's racing on the level of the young guys, like he's never left. Yeah. And I just love seeing that. And I really feel, and Janco also feels this way, if Alpine have a good car next year, Alonso can be a championship contender.
Yeah, it's possible.
Yes, it's very possible. And Alonso said he would give anything to have a third World Drivers' Championship. He's already a 2-time champ, but Alonso said his dream was always to achieve 3 or more. And unfortunately, Fernando did make very bad career choices with certain teams he went to at certain times, but that's just somehow how the cookie crumbles. And I would love to see Alpine back at the front because that is the team he won his first 2 world titles with. Before they were Alpine, they were still Renault back then, but that's the team he won his 2 world titles with. I think to win a third with them almost 20 years later would be kind of special.
Yeah, I think, yeah, definitely.
So, a man can dream. I know the chances are very slim, but a man can dream. So yeah, Now, we also mentioned it a few minutes ago, but Ocon is still struggling to match Alonso on race pace. Quali pace, Ocon has been able to match Fernando, but race pace wise, Fernando has still got that little bit of an edge over Esteban.
I think it's the the experience of Fernando
Oh,
that's
most
pushing
definitely.
him in front of Ocon. I think Ocon just needs a little bit more time with Fernando.
One thing that I do want to mention is Ocon, in my opinion, has learned more from Alonso than he did from Ricciardo last year. Last year when they were still Renault, Ocon didn't shape at all against Ricciardo, but this year alongside Alonso, he has been more, I want to say, going for things and being more aggressive with his driving. And I mean, I sent you guys the image over the group literally this morning. Ocon said he didn't perform as well in Russia because he didn't use the setup that Fernando told him to use. He used his own, and that's why he struggled. He admitted that himself. I think Ocon is learning so much from Alonso because Alonso is a veteran of the sport.
Yeah.
People don't have to agree with me, and I know this is going to be filled with hate comments, but I personally feel Fernando Alonso is the best driver to ever pull a helmet over his head in Formula One. It's just bad career choices, in my opinion. I've seen Fernando at his best. I've seen Fernando at his worst. He is to me on just a little bit higher level than Hamilton and Schumacher and all these big names like Senna and Prost and all those kind of guys. Alonso is just something special to me, and I think the fact that Ocon can learn from Fernando, that is worth gold to Ocon's career. Not just to him as a driver, but to his entire career.
Yeah. Definitely, yes.
Sorry, I just took a sip of cold coffee. But yeah, Ocon still needs to do something to match. Just like Tsunoda needs to do something to catch up to Gasly. Ocon doesn't have as much as Tsunoda to do, but he still needs to gain that a little bit more.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, it took Alonso. I mean, with the first round was Bahrain, then we went to Imola, then to Portimao for the Portuguese Grand Prix. And ever since after Portugal, honestly, Alonso has just been running away from Ocon, in my opinion. So I really hope to see Ocon get back that pace he had at the beginning of the season to match Alonso and being in the points consistently, because even though I do not like Ocon, he's not a bad driver and he deserves success. He's been through a lot with Mercedes sagging him after his run at Racing Point / Force India / Aston Martin. So we'll have to see what happens with Esteban. But now, holy crap, I made a lot of points. We're nearly done. Now, we saw it in the race highlights, Jonny, but Sebastian Vettel this weekend in the Aston Martin just had a lot of bad luck.
Yeah.
I mean, he got squeezed off by, we just talked about him, Ocon. And there was also a stage that they didn't show in the race highlights, but I can remember he got squeezed off by Stroll, his teammate as well, at the exact same corner.
Yeah, I remember that as well, yeah.
And Vettel, obviously we saw the Mercedes-powered cars were the cars to beat this weekend. McLaren won the race, Bottas was P3, Hamilton was going strong, and then you had to Aston Martin, and even Williams. I mean, Russell got points. Russell got P9. And Vettel said that he felt really great that Aston Martin could get a good lump of points. And the fact that Ocon shoved him off track as well as his own teammate, that cost them points. Where did Stroll come? Actually, I think Stroll finished in the points. Yes, Stroll actually had a fantastic race. Stroll finished P7, but due to him shoving Vettel off track, Vettel lost out on the opportunity to also get points.
Yeah.
So, fantastic weekend from Stroll, I'll give him that, but he cost his team more points by shoving Vettel off the track. So, like I said, I mean, the topic after the Vettel topic is brilliant from Stroll, P7. And Stroll to me is a lot like Verstappen sometimes. He thinks more about himself than the team sometimes. And that clearly cost them this weekend.
Yeah.
And we also saw what happened between Vettel and Stroll at the Russian Grand Prix in those final few laps. He basically shoved Vettel into the wall, and they were both lucky to not come away with massive damage.
Yep.
So there is also a bit of what's the word I'm looking for? Crap, turbo. But in any case, Stroll needs to do a little bit of soul searching with some of his moves. Obviously, I get when you're going against another driver, be a little bit more aggressive, but not with your teammate.
Yeah.
Especially not someone as talented and as experienced as Vettel. So, yeah, I've never liked Stroll really. I've gained a lot of respect for him after, especially last season. I've never been a fan of Stroll, but when it comes to the team, he needs to be a bigger team player.
Yeah, well, with his dad there, I thought maybe he would be a bit more of a team player, but
yeah, well, I know Lawrence Stroll isn't the easiest boss to work for. I mean, the team principal of Aston Martin, Otmar Schaffner, he's even said Lawrence Stroll has been one of the hardest bosses he's ever worked for, but he knows why Stroll is so successful. And Lawrence Stroll has made it clear, if Lance messes up, he's not going to think twice to put his own son out of the team. Yes, he wants to have a championship winning team and he wants Lance to be at the front of that team. But if Lance doesn't do what he needs him to do, he will move Lance. So Stroll needs to be very careful to not do this too much.
Yeah.
But I mean, the track we're going to now, obviously we're already done with Russia, guys. You guys are going to get that podcast soon. We are now going to the track where Stroll qualified on pole position last year. And that's the Turkish Grand Prix. Yes, it was in very tricky conditions, but Stroll loves Turkey. And I think it's going to be a good opportunity for Stroll to really show what he's made of. And I also think it's going to be a strong track for Aston Martin. So we'll have to see if Vettel can be there as well.
Yeah.
I mean, Vettel got a podium there last year in that absolute donkey of a Ferrari. So I think it can be a good weekend for Aston Martin if they really get all their ducks in a row.
Yeah.
Why did you go so mute all of a sudden? You started talking and it's just like, okay, silent. Okay, guys. In any case, so that's the whole thing with the Aston Martins. And what is there more to say about this bloody guy? George Russell points again.
He's just outperforming that Williams. It's just a class. He's just a...
Yeah, he's a class act in himself.
Yeah.
Look, even though I'm sad for Bottas' sake, Russell deserves to go to Mercedes. He's proven it this year and he even proved it last year as well. So, I mean, what is there more to say about Russell? He's just, I don't know what, he's being the Michael Schumacher and Lewis Hamilton that they were when they were young. He's doing something in so many pieces of crap, with all due respect to the Williams team. That's not a good car. But he's just getting that car into positions where it shouldn't be. I mean, he qualified P2 at Belgium.
Yeah.
He out-qualified Lewis Hamilton and Valtteri Bottas, both in Mercedes cars. And we know where he qualified for Russia. So, once again, when Russell's on it, he's on it. And yes, people are going to say, but it was wet conditions. Not the point. That makes it even harder, to be deadly honest, because it's harder to drive the car. So, well done, Russell. You freaking beast. And one thing that I also want to talk about is Russell's teammate, Nicholas Latifi, who was racing brilliantly. And he was in P10 ahead of Russell before the safety car. Latifi pit, and just after he pitted, the crash between Hamilton and Verstappen happened, and that's why Russell jumped him in the pit stops.
Yeah.
But Latifi was actually busy beating Russell during that race, and people have said now that Latifi has gotten his contract again for Williams, that he doesn't deserve to be there. I feel Latifi has proven this year that he deserves to be in Formula 1. He's had some exceptional performances. I mean, the race where Williams scored their first, the race where they won, where they got their first points, Latifi beat Russell.
Yeah.
And Russell said that weekend, he calls Nicholas Nicky. He literally said in interviews, I couldn't touch Nicky. He was just on point this weekend. Latifi is a really good driver, and I'm really glad that he regained his seat at Williams for next season. And I think him and Albon are going to be a good pairing.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yes.
Albon is coming back. Yeah. That's going to be great.
Yes, I really think that's going to be a very strong pairing, especially if Williams can develop at least, not necessarily a front-running car, because that is going to be a tall task, but even if they're just back in the midfield. Albon, he's going to take a few races to get used to the car again, but Albon and Latifi alongside one another, I think it's going to be a proper force there. So, I mean, next year, it's going to be the same for every single driver, whether you're a rookie or an experienced veteran. The cars are changing completely. Every driver is going to have to adapt to those new cars, and the drivers that adapt the quickest are the drivers that are going to do the best.
Yeah,
it's as simple as that. So hopefully Latifi and Albon have got something lodged up their rear pocket so that they can actually have a good season next year. But like I said, I'm happy Williams are keeping Latifi for 2022. I don't know what's your opinion about Latifi, Johnny, but I personally like him a lot.
I don't know him that well. He's not really in the Drive to Survive series. He's not being shown something, just coming.
That, but I followed Latifi from his F2 days. So his last F2 season was in 2019. His first F1 season was last year. And last year, yes, Latifi didn't have a good season, but he was a rookie. He had a season like Sonoda has now. And this year, Latifi has really been sometimes outperforming Russell in race pace. Like Russell, just like Hamilton, is a qualifying OP machine. But race pace, there's nothing wrong with Nicholas' pace. Yeah. So I hope he can sort out his quali pace for next season, and hopefully he can have an even better third season in Formula 1. So yeah, I'm really glad that Latifi kept his seat at Williams. I think we need to do a podcast about just talking about the drive. As soon as all the drivers are confirmed for 2022, I think we need to have a little bit of a podcast just talking about the teams moving around and everything. I think it's going to be a fun podcast. Stay tuned. Okay.
That's going to be super loud, but...
Yeah. Now, into the final 1, 2, 3, 4 topics of this podcast. Giovinazzi once again, epic in qualifying and the sprint race, but he buckles under pressure in the main race.
Yeah.
We saw the contact with Sainz, and unfortunately there's no two ways around this, that was Gio's fault.
Yeah.
He went off track in similar fashion to Perez later on in the race when he overtook Leclerc. But Gio just went, okay, I want to go to the left of the track. I'm going to the left of the track. Oh, wall.
Mm-hmm.
So, and honestly, I think that crash is what cost Gio his contract now. We talked about it in the sprint race comments, but Gio had a fantastic opportunity to get points this weekend.
Yeah.
And due to that, he cost the team very much needed points.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm really sad for Giovinazzi's sake, but I think that probably was the move that might have just sealed the deal on his Formula 1 career. It's very sad, and honestly, it was a silly mistake. Jonny, what's your opinion on that? On what Gio did there? I nearly said Latifi.
I think I couldn't remember much of that move, but it's just a silly mistake.
It's not a mistake that should have been made.
Yeah.
I mean, he was alongside Carlos Sainz, and he was actually trying to make a move on Leclerc. Going into the second chicane, Leclerc, there was not enough space. Gio had to take the sausage curb, and as he rejoined the track in a dangerous manner and just went straight into Sainz.
Now.
And
Yeah,
Sainz just spun. Sainz had nowhere to go because there was cars behind him. He couldn't just hit the brakes.
Yeah.
So, very unfortunate for Giovinazzi, I have to be honest. But like I said, I hope he keeps his seat, but I highly doubt it after that performance. And the bad thing is, that was Giovinazzi and Alfa Romeo's home Grand Prix.
Yep.
So I think Gio felt like a bit of a nincompoop, if I can put it that way. But yeah. Other news, which we already know. I'm sorry, guys. By the way, I'm sorry the podcast also late, guys. It's been a hectic few weeks for all of the Motorsport Lounge members. We haven't had time to do the podcast. We do apologize that these podcasts are so late. But just know we haven't forgotten about the podcast fans. We are still working, but we also have personal crap to do. Not the point. But with obviously after Italy, we heard the announcement that Kimi Räikkönen, after being tested positive for COVID-19, that he will be back at Russia. So all I wanted to say is well done for Kimi for actually winning it, because there were a lot of reports that Kimi was at certain stages he was really sick. So I'm glad that Kimi is coming back, and I'm just glad that Kimi has recovered. And I'm not going to lie, it was good to see him this past weekend in Russia. It was good to see him racing again, and he had a phenomenal performance, by the way. But yeah, into the final two topics. And yeah, it's the second to last topic is just Mazepin being Mazepin.
Yeah.
Unlike Alonso being Alonso, Mazepin was busy being Mazepin. I didn't want to swear, but I wrote in the topic, Mazepin drove like a butthole this weekend, contact with Schumacher and multiple lockups.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, we all know the Haas is last year's Ferrari. It's an absolute donkey to drive. It's not literally last year's Ferrari, but it's worse. But spinning your teammate after a safety car? Why? And then after he spun Schumacher, he DNF'd. He cracked one of his suspension arms. He had to retire the car, but after he ruined his teammate's race. I'm gonna stick to this statement until it happens. But Nikita Mazepin does not deserve to be in Formula One. Point.
I think the only reason he's in Formula One is that sponsorship that's coming from
his dad.
His dad.
His dad's one of the richest men in the world. But I think he is something like he's in the top 5 of richest men in Russia, and he's in I think the top 20 of world's richest people. And that is the only reason Haas are keeping him, because Haas are struggling with money.
Yeah.
And Mazepin sponsors bring in more money than Schumacher sponsors, as well as Mr. Mazepin just shoving money where Günther Steiner asks of him.
Mm-hmm.
But oh my word, Mazepin this year, I mean, yes, he got the fastest lap in Belgium, but only after being 3 laps behind safety car. There hasn't been one point this year where I've thought, wow, well done, Mazepin. Not once this year. But when I look at Schumi, that performance in Hungary, battling Verstappen, Ricciardo, all these drivers, he had a brilliant point of the race where I think he came out in P7 or P8 after the entire Bottas went bowling, and when Lewis started the race by himself. He defended so phenomenally well. You can see this potential in Mick Schumacher. Mazepin has not shown that at any stage this season.
No, he
and
doesn't deserve it.
I'll be honest, Mazepin was very good in F2. He really, really was phenomenal in F2, and I actually liked him in F2. But, oh my gosh, just get out of Formula 1.
Yeah.
Sorry, but no, just no. If you really think Tsunoda's been bad this year, give that seat to Tsunoda for all I care, but just get rid of Nikita Mazepin, please. And I can't believe they signed him for 2022. Schumi, I can understand. Schumi nearly got points in Hungary in a car that's a second a lap slower than the Williams. The Williams!
Yeah.
He nearly got points. The closest Mazepin has been to sniffing points is being spun around looking at the leader backwards. That's the closest Mazepin has been to points this season. And I know I'm going on a rant, but oh my word, he's bad. Okay, this is not something that I'm sucking out of my thumb. Go look on report pages on any social media you want. Guess how many lockups Nikita Mazepin had for the Italian Grand Prix. That's excluding practice, qualifying, and the sprint race.
I don't know how much.
In the main race, Mazepin had 27 lockups. He ruined 2 sets of tires.
Wow.
2 sets of tires. The team had to put him on a set of tires that he used in practice on Friday because they didn't have any tires left, because he had too many lockups throughout the weekend.
Yo.
So, I'm done with my rant. I just pulled a KT from WTF1, but still, I'm over Nikita Mazepin. And if he's not out of Formula 1 at the end of 2022, I'm probably going to fly to America, get a coconut, and throw it at the Haas headquarters. Because just get him out. Please get him out. There's so many F2 drivers that deserve that seat alongside Schumacher. I mean, look at Schumi's title rival for 2020, Callum Ilott. He hasn't even been mentioned in any other Formula 1 team. And Ilott, to me, is one of the most talented F2 drivers that has come through in the last 20 years. You've got Guan Yu Zhou that's now talking to Alfa Romeo, Oscar Piastri, Robert Schwartzman, which is part of the Ferrari Driver Academy, which Haas is a part of. Why did they give that? And don't tell me in the comments money, I don't care. Besides money, why did they give Mazepin that seat? Okay, let's move on before I throw my phone through the screen, because I'm tired of Nikita Mazepin. In any case, the final thing, I want to end the talking points on a good note. And Jonny, I talked to you about it in our native language of Afrikaans. When we watched the race highlights, those final 15 laps, seeing 6 cars battling for the lead. You had Ricciardo, followed by Norris, Bottas and Perez fighting over P3, followed directly by the 2 Ferraris. It's been the first time, probably since 2008, 2007, that we've been able to see more than 2 cars battling for a race win.
Sure.
We had 6 cars, And honestly, if any of those drivers made a massive mistake, any one of those 6 drivers could have won that race. Ferrari wasn't that bad that they fell back. They just weren't fast enough to get past Perez and Bottas to fight the McLarens. But to see 6 cars in the same camera shot going into every corner, I just had a warm, fuzzy feeling in my tum-tum. It was just fantastic. So, that is what Formula 1 needs.
This race, well, the Italian Grand Prix was one to remember, I think.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yes. And obviously, I know we're not going to talk about Russia, but a lot of people after this insane Russian Grand Prix have said that's the race of the season. To me, it was Italy. Just like last year when Pierre Gasly won the Italian Grand Prix once again, the Italian Grand Prix to me this year was the race of the season.
It was... I was on the edge of my seat every lap.
From lights out till checkered flag.
There wasn't one lap where I just thought, this is boring.
And I still can't get over the fact that McLaren has had a 1-2 for the first time in 9 years. That is still breaking my brain. I mean, it's that thing. It's like that meme that says, what's that name again? I'm not gonna try and remember it now, but it's a stupid thing where the guy says at the end, but my brain don't mind. Yeah, you know what meme I'm talking about. My brain is in that exact state. Like, how has Zach Brown, Daniel Ricciardo, and Lando Norris achieved this? It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
And honestly, if Lewis and Max did not crash, taking into consideration by some other miracle they got through the second corner, I still don't think they would have caught Ricciardo. I think they would have passed Norris, but I don't think they would have catched Ricciardo.
No.
I think Ricciardo was a shoo-in to win that race as soon as Mercedes and Red Bull messed up their pit stops. So I'm flabbergasted, and I'm so glad for McLaren. But mainly that 6-car battle till we came across the line at the end of the race, to me was just phenomenal. It was perfect. And to not see Ham ver Bot or Ham Bot ver or ver Ham Bot, whatever you want to see the podium as when you come to the 3 main contenders, to see Ricciardo, Norris, and actually Bottas on that podium, and actually Bottas smiling for once on the podium, even though he came 3rd in a race he wanted to win. That was just awesome. And I mean, didn't Bottas also do a shoey, or was it just Norris and Zach Brown?
Norris.
I think that Zach Brown did as well, but I mean, it was just a good vibe on the podium. And honestly, I hope with everything in me, Bottas at least gets a podium for Alfa Romeo at Sunday, or even if he can win a race for them. That would just be like Mercedes, stand
just
in the back.
Just another one.
But yeah. Johnny, have you got anything to say about that before we start heading to the fun part of the podcast?
Can't think of anything now.
So guys, that has been the talking points for the sprint race and the main race for the Italian Grand Prix. Now, let's head into the driver ratings for the Italian Grand Prix. Johnny, you've got the 2 Haas drivers.
Mazepin and Schumacher. Mazepin with 2 out of 10 and Schumacher with 4 out of 10.
Honestly, obviously guys, remember what I told you guys, we are 8 people on the group, everybody gives their driver ratings, and then we take, plus it together, divide it by 8. I gave Mazepin a 0. I don't know who gave him, I think someone gave him a 4 as well. I literally had a facepalm moment, because I didn't understand why. I think it was Janco actually, but not the point. Mazepin, if I can give him a 0 for the rest of the season, I will, unless he wins a race. But he's not going to win a race going in reverse. So, yeah. But, yeah, I think Schumi's 4 out of 10. Obviously, he couldn't do anything after Mazepin spun him. And he still had a fairly decent performance. So I think 4 out of 10 is fine. Onto the 2 Alfa Romeos. Obviously, guys, we're not going to do driver ratings for Robert Kubica because he's just going to drive these 2 races. Kimi is back with the next race. So Raikkonen, obviously, a 0 out of 10. Giovinazzi, even though I think he deserves less, obviously he had a good sprint race and qualifying performance. Gio gets a 6 out of 10. Johnny, you've got the 2 Williams drivers.
Okay, Latifi with a 7 out of 10 and George Russell with 8 out of 10. So
yeah, very well deserved. Latifi P11 just outside the points, Russell P9. What more do you want from those two guys?
Yep.
Heading in towards the two Aston Martins, Stroll got a 7 out of 10. Even though he squeezed Vettel off, he still managed P7 in that Aston Martin, which is phenomenal. So 7 out of 10 for Stroll. And Sebastian Vettel, just followed by a lot of bad luck, gets a 6 out of 10. Johnny, you've got the two Alpines.
Okay, Falcon with the 6 out of 10, and of course, Alonso 7 out of 10.
Yeah, it was not. I think 7 out of 10 is good for Fernando. It wasn't like a phenomenal performance, but just managing points.
Yeah.
Still in what should have been the slowest car in a straight line. Very well done.
Yeah.
Heading in towards the two Alpha Tauris, Yuki Tsunoda gets a 1 out of 10. Like we said, he was just nowhere and there was not much to see of him. And Pierre Gasly, unfortunately, phenomenal qualifying, but just unfortunate crash in the sprint race, and he didn't even start the main race, so Gasly gets a 3 out of 10. You've got your two favorite, almost two favorite drivers, probably favorite team. You've got the McLarens.
Daniel Ricciardo is a 10 out of 10, and Lando Norris is a 10 out of 10. I think Ricciardo deserves 11 out of 10, but
yeah, unfortunately, that's how the cookie crumbles. I know I gave Ricciardo, I was one of them that gave him a 10, and also Lando a 10. I think it was me, Demi, and Booster that gave Ricciardo a 10, and that downgraded him from an 11 to a 10. But still, 10 out of 10 is proper points. If Ricciardo ran away with the race, like if he won with like 30 seconds, I would have given him like a 20 out of 10, to be honest. But still, 10 out of 10, it's a solid performance. Then heading in towards the two drivers that raced at the team's home Grand Prix, the two Ferrari drivers, Carlos Sainz, P6 in the end, just couldn't manage to stick with Perez. He gets a 7 out of 10. And Charles Leclerc, fantastic race from Charles, as always, 8 out of 10 for Leclerc. By the way, interesting stat. I know it's after Russia, but after the Russian Grand Prix, Sainz has had more podiums than Sergio Perez this season.
What?
Yes, Sergio won Baku and what's the other race? And was 3rd in France. Sainz 3rd in Monaco, 3rd in Hungary, and now 3rd again in Russia.
No, Sainz wasn't 3rd in Monaco.
Oh yeah, he was second.
Second, yes.
Sorry,
but podium is podium. Yes.
Yeah, 2nd, 3rd, 3rd. So
yeah.
In any case,
okay.
You've got the two Mercedes.
Okay, Bottas 9 out of 10 and Hamilton 4 out of 10. Once again, I think Bottas deserves 10 out of 10. But 9 points still.
I gave Valtteri an 11 out of 10. I don't know how it got down to a 9, but obviously...
I think I gave him a 10 out of 10 because I gave Daniel Ricciardo. So...
No, but still, fantastic weekend from Bottas, and a 9 out of 10 is not... He doesn't get that a lot, so well done to Valtteri. And finally, the two Red Bulls. Sergio Perez, 7 out of 10. Just, penalty and just not a bad performance, but not a good performance. And Max Verstappen, obviously, the crash with Lewis. Lewis got a 4, and now Max has got a 6.
I don't think the 6 is too high.
I personally feel Max did a lot better than Lewis overall the weekend. I mean, Max maintained P2 in the sprint race, qualified P3 behind the two Mercedes for the sprint race, and if it wasn't for a slow pit stop, he was pressurizing Ricciardo the entire first stint.
Okay.
So, I also think 6 is too high, but I think at least a 5. I think he deserves more than Lewis.
Yeah.
But it ended on a 6, so it's like lots of numbers. Wherever it ends, you let it be. So guys, that has been the driver ratings. Now, Johnny, you've got the team's standings after round 13 for our self-created constructors.
Okay.
Please read us the results after round 13.
Okay, Haas with 89 points. Alfa Romeo with 129. Williams 132, Aston Martin 147, Mercedes, oh my word, I forgot that they were so low. Mercedes 155, AlphaTauri with 156, Alpine with 163, McLaren with 178, Ferrari with 193, and then Red Bull just 1 point away of 200.
Okie dokie. Now the standings after round 14 after this race was Haas in P10 on 95 points. Alfa Romeo was still in P9 on 135. Williams P8 on 147. Tied in 6th place was Aston Martin and AlphaTauri on 160 points. Mercedes were 5th, we went up from 6th to 5th on 168 points. Alpine still maintained P4 on 176. McLaren have jumped a big shot with getting 20 points, 20 out of 20 basically, and they are still P3 on 198, only 10 points behind Ferrari in P2 on 208, and Red Bull just lead the way with 4 points on 212. Now, Jonny, this next spot, unfortunately, you and Demi did not give us any. No, you guys didn't give predictions for the Russian Grand Prix. Sorry. You guys are still in here. So, Jonny, you've got the predictions of myself and Janco.
Okay, so you predicted Ferrari top 5, sprint race crash, and then Mercedes top 3. Which you actually got.
So I get the full 16.
Wow. And then Janco, Red Bull podium, unfortunately not.
That's actually shocking.
Yeah. Red Bull podium. Didn't they got one in the... No, they didn't even in the sprint race.
Nope. No, Verstappen was P2, but he said that for the main race.
Oh, was it for a main race?
Yeah, that was for the main race.
Okay. Oh yeah, I see. Sprint race crash. And Russell top 8. Which one did he go?
The sprint race crash. Remember Gasly, and Russell was 9th.
Oh,
he missed it with one position. Ooh. Then Demi said a driver announcement on either Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. She literally missed that with one day because Russell was announced on the Monday. So I think so. I can't remember, but there was an announcement on the Monday, and I know Bottas was announced at the beginning of that week on the Monday before. Yes. In any case, Stroll top 10, which she got. Stroll got P7, and McLaren double points.
Double podium.
Yeah, if you said double podium, I would have given an automatic 16 because that would have been impossible. Then Jadepie said she had a bad weekend. She said Verstappen podium, which she didn't get. A quali crash, which didn't happen, and Red Bull retakes the Constructors' Championship lead.
That was a bold prediction.
Yes, so unfortunately Jadepie gets a fat round 0 for the Italian Grand Prix. Jonny, you've got your sister Jess and yourself.
I got 16. I didn't even know that. Anyway, okay, so Jess said McLaren wins. Wow.
She got that. I don't know how.
Bold prediction.
So she's the jinxer. She needs to say more stuff like that. Jess, please say Ferrari win for your next prediction, please.
Latifi points just missed out.
One position. Oh my word.
And then Hamilton second. Well, not much to say about that, is there?
So she got 5 points.
Yeah. Okay. Then my predictions was Lando top 5. Ricardo top 7, and then Max extend his lead, which he actually did.
Yes, he did, thanks to the sprint race. But you got it. I mean, you literally had to remind me on the group and be like, Turbo, he did extend his lead. Did you forget there was a sprint race? And I literally did forget about the sprint race in that instant. So thank you for reminding me. And then finally, Boosted said, a main race front wing change. I think there were like 3 or 4. I mean, just look at Giovinazzi. Russell off pace in the sprint race, which he was. Russell got P15 in the sprint race, and no first corner crash. Gasly and Ricciardo's incident counts as a second corner incident. So Boosted got that by the skin of his teeth. So Boosted gets 16 points. And finally, Melanie said 3 DNFs, which she got. There was more than 3 DNFs. Verstappen podium, unfortunately that cost her 16, and a Ferrari top 5. Thank you, Charles Leclerc. So Melanie got 10. Jonny, please read us the Team Motorsport Lounge Predictions Championship standings after the previous round 13.
Okay, so it was Jadepie at 50 points, Jess at 55, Janco, so okay, at 56, and then me, Boosted and Turbo tied for 3rd at 60, Demi at 71, and then Melanie at 76.
So it's very close after the previous round. Now after this round, Jadepie is still in P8, unfortunately getting 0 points. She is still on 50 points. Jess P7 on 60 points. Janco is 6th on 61 points. Myself, you, and Boosted are still tied in P3 on 76 points now. Demi is still in second on 81 points, and Melanie is in first on 86 points. It's very close at the front. Mm-hmm. Now, for the final thing of this podcast, Jonny, let's read out the predictions for the Russian Grand Prix. Now, obviously, if this podcast was done on time, I would have told you to do your predictions live. Mm-hmm. But unfortunately, because we've been busy, there hasn't been time. So unfortunately, you and Demi do not have predictions for Russia. But please read me my predictions, Jess and Boosted's.
Okay, so your predictions was Verstappen podium, Williams points, and Gasly qualifies top 8.
Yes.
And Jess, Perez top 4. Max and Lewis make contact again. And then McLaren points.
Okay.
And then Boosted said Perez top 5, Raikkonen out qualifies Giovinazzi. Was he in the race then?
Yeah. Raikkonen came back for Russia.
Oh yeah. And then Bottas wins, bold. And then me and Demi just didn't give predictions. So let's just move on.
Then Melanie said Verstappen regains podium. She said that after we got the news of him taking the engine penalties. Mm-hmm. Lucky duck. Pit stop failure and Ferrari top 5. Janco said Russell points finish, McLaren keep their pace, and safety car in the race. Jadepie said Verstappen podium, Ferrari top 5, and a free practice or quali crash. Thank you, Lewis Hamilton, says Jadepie. So you guys, that has been the podcast for the 2021 Italian Grand Prix. And yeah, fantastic weekend. And Jonny, your final thoughts before we say goodbye?
It was a good weekend. Race to remember, and just Ricardo is back, baby.
Yeah, guys, my final thoughts before we say goodbye. The only thing I want to take away from this race is this race to me needs to be an inspiration towards Formula One. Coming back to that final point of the talking points of 6 cars battling for the lead, mm-hmm. That was exceptional to see, and that needs to stay a thing. I love that, and I hope with next year's Rex we see a lot more of this.
Yeah, well, with next year it's going to be...
Yeah, I really hope so. Unless one team decides, okay, we're going to knock it out of the park and be 2 seconds quicker than anyone else. Mercedes did that in 2014, so there is that possibility. Yeah. Please, dear Lord, do not let that happen. But guys, that has been this podcast. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for staying till the end. Make sure to check out the links in the description down below. Guys, check out my second channel, Forza Watch Gaming, where there's non-racing content. Make sure to go check me out on social media. All my social media links are in the description down below. And guys, even my teasers are now on TikTok. So go give me a follow on TikTok. And finally, please check out my South African gaming clan, Falcon Gaming. All their social media links will be in the description down below. Also, please, while you're down there, make sure to drop a like down below on this podcast. It's going to be a 2-section podcast, so make sure you like both halves of the podcast. And then finally, if you're new to the channel, Jonny, what do you do when you are new to the channel?
You subscribe, and of course, hit the bell to never miss a future video.
Thank you very much. Guys, also, if you guys want to see the other content that I make except for the podcast, go check out the playlist section of the channel. All my series are on the playlist section. Thank you so much for watching, guys. You guys are amazing. Jonny, say your goodbyes.
Goodbye.
Guys, it's been fantastic. We'll see you guys for the Russian Grand Prix podcast. I love you guys. See you guys next time. Cheers!